It is okay not to feel okay. These are very pressing times. These are very depressing times. There's so much happening in the news. Every time you turn on the TV or every time you get on your For You page, there's a breaking news story about something despondent that is happening as a result of something that happened by Donald Trump. I know, the news is scary. I'm an investigative journalist. I'm an independent journalist. I cover things here on TikTok, as well as on Blue Sky YouTube and Substack, covering the news constantly. There's so much that's been happening. I've been doing this since I was 13 years old, and, just adjusting to this, doing this since I was a teenager, now 19 years old, I can understand and be prepared for the second Trump administration and what we need to do. First of all, do not despair. I wrote a book, it's called Resistance, a strategic guide on how to fight back, defend democracy, and avoid a Trump dictatorship. And I want to read you rule number 1. Do not isolate. In a time like this, it is normal to feel hopeless and despondent. Those feelings are completely valid and should be acknowledged and processed. But do not isolate. Isolation and silence teach wannabe authoritarian actors what they can do. If people relinquish to despair and stay at home, there will be no one to counter, question, or protest the authoritarian agenda being put in place. Isolating and remaining silent is anticipatory obedience, essentially teaching power that it can control you and regulate your emotions. Okay, you're pissed off. I get it. We're all pissed off. There is so much happening that is extremely unpleasant. Do something about it. Whether that is in terms of creating a petition. I had a follower reach out to me who created a petition. Be sure to go sign this. Check this out after you finish the video. Do something about it. Channel your rage. Do not just sit and allow your emotions to dissipate. Do not just sit there and allow power to control and regulate your emotion system. Do something about it. Start a book club, start a group chat, start something that is going to be cogent and powerful that will make your elected representatives hear you. Do something about it. If you're pissed off right now, lots of people are. Spread the information. Talk about what's happening in the news. Do not isolate yourself. And the second thing here essentially is to understand the power of research, the power of knowledge. Get hardcover books. Get hardcover books. This is not a time to essentially to get books that's online. I'm going to essentially be putting this Resistance book out as a hardcover copy very soon. Make sure to get hardcover books. This is a time where there's so much uncertainty, and the current Trump administration reflects the history of what we saw happen in Germany in the 1930s with books being burned, because knowledge is dangerous when it comes to authoritarian leadership. Knowledge is bad because they count on you being as dumb, as isolated, and as angry as possible as you can be, because you're more susceptible to authoritarianism. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. Educate yourself. Read, read, read. This is the time to research. This is the time to buy lots of hardcover books. Knowledge is power. Make sure you know that. And of course, lastly, I'm going to put one more rule here before I go. Defend institutions. And I want to read you this from my book, Defend Institutions here. This is one of the parts where I talk about towards the end of the book. Rule number 4, do not fall into the trap of complacency, believing that our institutions will safeguard democracy on their own. As citizens, it is our duty to actively defend them, for without vigilance, they will crumble like dominoes. In the absence of opposition, protest, or outright resistance to the abuses of power by would-be authoritarians, these institutions will weaken, falter, and ultimately succumb. Do your research, defend institutions, study history. History is important. People say, oh, the past doesn't matter. The past absolutely matters. A lot of what's happening is repetition of the past. Study history. Do not allow your feelings to cause you to isolate. If you're pissed off, stand up and do something about it. This is a time in our history, in the moment of the United States, where it's going to require you to be more active. If you are interested in terms of advancing your community in a time like this, make sure you're spreading the word about what's happening. If you're Hispanic, or if you're Muslim, or if you're a foreign immigrant, make sure you're spreading the news about what's happening in terms of mass deportation. If you are someone of color, if you're Black, make sure you're spreading the news about what's happening in the Black community, about DEI being revoked at lots of businesses, Target recently being one of them. Make sure that you're supporting Black-owned businesses. There is only one way to get through this together as a country, and that is going to be mass resistance. And mass resistance is the only way to stop authoritarianism, because isolating and allowing power to regulate your emotional system, that is how authoritarians win. Stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned. Lock in here. It's going to be a hell of a lot longer, but lock in. The news stories are not going to stop in terms of despair, but mass resistance is how we're going to get through this. Follow here on the Jeremiah Patterson Show for more news updates. I'm an independent journalist. Follow me here on Substack, Blue Sky, and YouTube as well. Thank you all so much.